Okay, and we're all set with YouTube.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Sorry for the delay. We had a couple of small issues in the beginning. Why don't we start with the Pledge of Allegiance and then a few comments. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible. Again, good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. And I know we all have COVID fatigue, and I can't wait to have these meetings finally to become public and in person. A couple of things. I know we all know that the numbers are dropping. We're doing better as the vaccines are getting rolled out. We're hoping to have a site in Great Neck. I've been in touch with the county and the state. They both have been promising me that the moment they can have their hands on, they'll try to do it. I'm trying to also work with Northwell to see if we can get vaccines coming to our peninsula and to try to get vaccine to those who are eligible. And the other front, I just wanted to mention that the installation of 26 LED lights, or I should say additional LED lights, were completed in last week. And I think we have much better and safer roads now. I still urge the community to let us know about areas that may still need more lights, and we will try to address that in our next rollout. That said, I know we have an agenda that has 777, I think, is on, and a few other things that we need to discuss. I just wanted to know that we have discussed this multiple times. Would like to hear the people and the presentation again, and then we'll go ahead with our determination. Abraham?
Good evening. The first item on the agenda is the Department of Public Work February 2021 report.
I have nothing new to add.
Member of the board, any questions to Mr. Massaro?
Just a little. When is the second lighted LED crosswalk sign going on?
I had a little bit of a difficult time over there because the guys were doing on Middle Neck Road with the water main, and every time I went over there, they were working that, and the snow came. I have to do that. I still have to do that one. I still have to do the 2 LED stop signs at Hicks and Forest. And I still have to put the stop sign in at Gould and Preston.
Right.
But I think one thing that we're mentioning, the roads, there have been significant complaint about Middle Neck Road and the road work that is being done. So as you know, or many of you know or may not know, the water authority is changing the water main that is over 100 years old. They're putting a new water main. It's obviously for safer and better delivery of water. Obviously, this means that the entire Middle Neck Road is getting ripped up. And I think PSE&G is doing some work, and also the National Gas is also doing some pipes. And so obviously, this is going to create significant amount of hardship in traffic and sound and noise. But from what we have been told by Nassau County, the road is going to be completely redone by the summer or end of summer, beginning of fall. So these are just hopefully very temporary, but it is going to disturb our lives for the next couple of months. So I just ask everyone to have patience. I know many people have their tires that got blown up because of these bumps. I have discussed it with Water Authority, and they're doing their best to make sure that at least the road is done as well as possible. Anyway, just a quick comment. Abraham?
The next item on the agenda is the Building Department February 2021 report. 1 second. Mr. Haramis,
Yes, respectfully submitted. Nothing else to add.
is there any question by the member of the board, or we can move on to the next item?
No, move on.
The next item is a presentation for and seeking approval for a site plan, architectural and facade review for the property located at 777 Middle Neck Road. Mr. Bloom,
You're on mute, Paul.
I'm off mute. I'm mute now, I hope.
Mr. Bloom, can't
Good
hear you.
evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the board, hearing on behalf of Lions Group LLC. The property in question is located at 777 Middle Neck Road, Section 1, Block 106-3, lots 216, 317, and 318. It is in a Residence E as an Edward district. We are here this evening for site plan, architectural review, facade approval, and also a final secret determination. Going back to October the 20th, there was a motion that was made and passed by the board with respect to these items that we are discussing this evening, and also as it relates to the secret determination made by the board. Pursuant to law, the village sent a copy of our application and plans to Nassau County Planning Commission on a 239M, as in Mary, review, and on the 17th day of December 2020, the Nassau County Planning Commission, by resolution number 04-20, left the determination of this matter to local determination. I will just point out at this stage very quickly that the project that we are proposing, that this board has been looking at for many, many months now, at least this year, and frankly, for many years, is an as-of-right project. There is no relief being sought from this board other than that which is normally for something which can be built or permitted to be built in the code, and that it is under density, so that the provisions of General Municipal Law 699B as in boy are not applicable. That is a provision of the law as it relates to forced housing. The original plans were dated September. They were delivered to the village. They were reviewed and were initially to appear before the board on March the 2nd. The day before that date, which was the last meeting of the board, we were informed that the village has not heard back from the village engineers, and therefore we have 2 letters that were received from H2M, one dated March 1, and it took us a long time to respond to all those comments, because on March 2, we in fact filed a new revised set of plans with both the village and with Mr. Sias. If I might, from the March 11th letter that was issued by Mr. Sias on behalf of the village, addressed to you, Mr. Mayor, application. The plans last revised on March 2 to 2021, and I hope those are the plans that you have before you, as that is the set of plans we're seeking approval for. were presented by Newman Design. The applicant is proposing to construct a multi-family apartment building in the Residence E district. The proposed building use is as of right. Our review of the site plan and related drawings note that the comments in our March 1, 2021 letter have been satisfactorily addressed, with the exception of the Nassau County 239F review, which is required but not within our purview. Also, I just might point out that the 239F, which will be the second or frankly the fourth time that the Nassau County DPW and Nassau County Planning Commission has reviewed this file, is not something that we can do prior to the time that this board makes its determination. It will be only post-determination by the village that a 239F application can be filed. The project is a 3-story, 38-unit apartment building with 1, 2, 3-bedroom units. It is code compliant, both as it relates to the building department and building code of the village, and also as it relates to the parking. Property is 39,670 square feet, 0.91 acres. And as I indicated, the maximum density permitted for this building would be 39 units. This is 38 units. We are under maximum density. Full environmental assessment form with the supplement was both filed and reviewed by the village and the village engineers. And this evening, what we are seeking is a final site plan approval, which will include landscape and the plans not only provide a landscape plan, but also a photometric plan. We are also seeking facade approval and also architectural approval. We have also incorporated documents that were requested by Mr. Sayers, which are boring tests and a survey. Just so that the board recall, there has been in the past comments by some of the residents that in fact there is water, which is at a surface level below grade that would create problems with the foundation, problems with building, etc. So just so that it is clear, and this has been approved by the village engineers who have reviewed the information that we provided to them, 7 test holes were taken at the site. One of them was in the absolute middle of the property. Of the 7 test holes that were taken, 6 of them were to an elevation of 36 feet below grade. 1 was to 51 feet below grade. That happens to be the one that's in the middle of the property where the building will be located. And not one of those test borings showed any subsurface water being detected whatsoever. And so with that, we do have, for a quick review, since this has been reviewed numerous times before, I'm going to ask Brian Newman of Newman Design to please run through as a summary what we are proposing. Please, Brian, if you would, touch upon the architectural aspects, the facade aspect, as well as some of the other issues associated with the proposal that's before the board.
Mr. Blue, before
just
does that, would you just clarify for the record the name of the applicant? You identified it as Lions Group, and in some places I have it as Lions Group, other places Lions Group LLC, and in other places Lions Group NYC.
As far as we are concerned, it's Lions Group LLC. I know
Very
that
good. And you also identified identified 3 lots, 317 and 318. In some of my correspondence, I also have a lot 322.
I will take a quick look, but I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
made
that's
an error.
correct.
In my notes, I do have the 322, which didn't make it from the typed notes to my handwritten notes. Thank you.
Okay,
Should be 4 lots total.
I would ask Brian Newman to touch upon the points that I've indicated. And I would like to point one thing out, and that is the plan shows a height of the building, which is totally in conformity with the maximum height that is permitted under the code. And it also shows a parapet, which is surrounding the rim of the roof of the building. We show it at 3.5 feet. The code, the village code, only permits a parapet of 3 feet, but then goes on to say, unless a higher parapet is required under the state building code. State building code requires 3.5 feet, and notwithstanding the 3 feet in the village code, since we are in conformity with the state building code, the parapet is 3.5 feet. That's half a foot. Also, there is a question with respect to the bulkheads of the building where the stairways and the elevators go to the roof. That is limited by code to 12 feet. We are going to be well within the limitations of that 12-foot height. Brian,
Yes, Paul.
did you unmute?
Yeah, I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. As far as
I can hear you. I'm not.
Mr. Rivera, as far as document sharing, should I share my screen or is the village?
Yeah,
doing it?
it'll probably be easier if you share your screen, so you could go at your pace.
Great. Okay, there we go. Okay. Okay, you can see the site plan, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so thank you, Paul. Good evening, everyone. What we're looking at here is the site plan. In order to orient yourself, north is Plan North as well as Due North at the top of the sheet. Middle Neck Road is on the left-hand side. Gutile is at the top. The building has 2 street frontages, Middle Neck as well as Gutile. The vehicular entrance will be off Gutile into a first floor parking garage coming through the court, as well as off Gutile, there's a ramp down to the parking below. As you can see here, the notes indicate a 23,764 square foot footprint. That is a 60% lot coverage as permitted by this zone, the residency. We have a resident entrance here as well on the left-hand side on Middle Neck Road that enters into a central lobby or common lobby for this wing. There's also a pedestrian entrance off the courtyard side as well. Just quick question. Can you see the mouse as I move it as well?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, great. All drainage is obviously self-contained, site-contained for stormwater runoff onto the site as well. The court area houses the majority of the drainage structure in capacity. There is a supplemental system at the bottom of the vehicular ramp into the parking garage, a small catch basin with a few dry wells, 4 dry wells to be exact, within the parking structure. This is sort of a blow up, if you will, on the lowest level of this internal court. We'll skip some of the details. So this is the layout of the cellar level. Vehicles will come down the ramp in here. There's 48 spaces within this structure. Elevator vestibule, egress, stairs, as well as mechanical services. The ground floor As I mentioned before, this is the main lobby, which has pedestrian entrance both off Middle Neck as well as the court itself. So this is the main lobby, reception, package area, elevators, off the lobby itself, or some recreation or amenity rooms, and additional living quarters unit over here. And then we have 32 spaces on the balance of that first floor. The vehicular entrance, as I mentioned before, is through this court and into the garage over here.
I'm sorry, just a quick question. I don't like to interrupt you, but the living quarters, is it living quarters residential, or is it used for by the superintendent of the building?
Superintendent.
That's for the super, okay.
I'm just going to zoom in a little bit if I can get, there we go. So this is our typical floor, our second and third floor. Sorry, the Zoom toolbar is jumping in front of the other toolbar. So our typical floor for second and third, elevator core over here, essentially a double loaded corridor. Without going into every single unit, we have a mix of 1s, 2s, and 3-bedroom units. 13 1-bedrooms, 21 2-bedrooms, and 4 3-bedrooms for that unit breakdown. That's the site plan. So building elevation, Middle Neck Road is on the top and Gutile is on the bottom. As you can see here, we have a mixture of materials or 3 materials, essentially a combination of aluminum panels, a wood material, a concrete accent material also at the entrance. Then we have some curtain wall and window wall as far as residential terraces and or balconies, and a glass canopy at the entrance itself. As you can see here, there's some significant articulation on the elevation to avoid and to break up a large mass on the streetscape. So we've played with sort of the push and pull of the facade to create these nice shadows and create some of these terraces within the facade itself. Similarly, the grayed out area over here would be the setback portion of the building on Gutile on the side elevation. And this on the right-hand side, and then over here on the left-hand side would be if we'll use the term wings, if you will, or the portions of the facade of the building that would be closest to Gutile. South elevation, so sort of the facade articulation wraps the corner there. So as you're approaching, it's still one comprehensive, cohesive language. And then as the building gets further away, it gets somewhat simplified towards the back of the building there. The rest of these are going to be, I believe, all construction details, which I don't think you're going to be interested in at this point in time. Yes, Paul, is there anything else you'd like me to touch on?
Yes, could you please go to the site plan, the colorized site plan, address the photometrics and also the landscape?
I just have to switch files, one moment. Okay. So as far as the landscape plan, we work with a registered landscape architect, Richard Ignatow, to develop a comprehensive landscape plan, which you see in front of you. Essentially, to formalize the entrance, there's low ground cover, boxwoods, and foundation planting along Middle Neck Road to give it a nice clean entrance, and that sort of wraps around Gutile. More ornamental type of landscaping and vegetation in the courtyard here, sort of announcing that entrance off Gutile. And then as we get along the east side is a heavily landscaped and dense buffer here along the side. The beginning 22 feet or so are arborvitaes planted approximately 6 to 8 feet tall. And that's the day they're planted, not the maturity, but that's the size, in fact, that we're specifying at this time. They're approximately 4 foot on center. Then along the entire road, ramp over here are an additional 40 plus, sorry, I forget the name right now. Just give me 1 second. I wrote it down before. Sorry, skip laurels. So skip laurels do stay lush and green all throughout the winter as well. And those are also 6 to 8 feet tall, 4 foot on center. And then we again break it up with additional arborvitae, I think another 10 or so arborvitae just after the ramp. Again, 6 to 8 feet tall, approximately 6 to 8 feet on center. Again, day of planting, that is the initial specified height. They will grow considerably taller. Additional landscaping, obviously, to the south as well along the property line here.
And Brian, with respect to the entrance on Middle Neck Road, that's a bit of a ramp and steps up, and you're going to have some pavers over there?
Yes, so I'll zoom in over here. So there's a slight grade change, approximately 2 feet from the sidewalk to the first floor elevation. So there's a few steps right in here, more decorative, if you will, ceremonial, but the main or very gradual accessible walking path would be from this sort of arched walkway that you see here, and that would be pavers to just formalize that entrance. You want me to go to the photometric?
Just, I'm sorry, just quickly on the Middle Neck Road side where you have those pavers. What's the setback from the sidewalk? Or what is this, I think, I don't know if I see the scale. I see you say Middle Neck Road. I don't know if this is, what's the sidewalk setback here?
So our building from the property line is set back 15 feet. And then the building from the face of curb is actually 25 feet.
I think it's 26 feet according to your plan. On Middle Neck Road, it's 26 feet from the curb and 15 feet from the property line.
Okay.
By the way, the code provides or requires that it be either the greater of 15 feet from the property line or 21 feet from the curb. So we are 5 foot more of a setback as it relates to the curb measurement.
Well, similar, since we're on setbacks on Gutile, this is considered a front yard as well, and it would be required to be a 15-foot front yard setback on Gutile. We are actually 21 feet, so we're exceeding that setback over here by 6 feet as well.
Is there
Thank you.
a sidewalk on Gutile included in that 21 feet or no sidewalk?
No sidewalk on Gutile. One does not exist today, and we do not propose one. Paul,
could you address the photometric?
Yep.
Could you address the photometric and the spread of light from this property onto other properties?
Yes, I will bring that up right now. All exterior lighting uses house shields, they're called, and dark sky compliant. So essentially what that does is that knocks the light down from polluting the sky as well as the adjacent properties. I'm just trying to locate that. Here we go. And close this and zoom out a little bit.
LP 101.
I got it. Just it's a little laggy. If that's a technical term, I'm not sure, but I feel like it is these days. So as you can see here, we work directly with lighting manufacturer to produce the light levels with the specified light fixtures on the building itself. They cast the photometrics. They can tell you the foot candles and lumens, and we've maintained it on our property.
Okay, are there any questions of Mr. Nixon with respect to the facade or any site plan issues that we discussed?
How thick, oh,
You want to go back to the landscaping?
how thick are the aluminum panels? You said there were aluminum panels are part of it, are part of the,
I forget the exact thickness, but it's a sandwich panel. It's not going to be like brake metal where you see the oil canning, if that's what you're concerned of, but the waviness, that would not be the material that we've actually ever used. Same, I know, with Lions Group, and this is not our first building together. So it's usually a sandwich type panel that has a significant rigidity to it.
You know, the colors that you have on your rendering as true to reality as can be?
I think it's a fairly accurate representation, obviously, depending on what monitor you look at and dye lots and things like that. But it's the intent, we'll call it.
Okay, if you could get those facade elevations up again.
Yep.
Are there any other questions the board has?
Bloom, I just want to tell you, your microphone throughout the evening is very, very spotty. It's difficult to hear you at best.
That's because I'm using my computer as opposed to my wife's.
Get smart.
Listen, you don't stay married as long as I have, unless you treat your wife better than you treat yourself. So.
Brian, just for clarification, the highest points on the front elevation that you see, those would be the bulkheads for the stairwells and the elevator, correct?
Thank you. Yes, that is accurate, and that is a correct statement. This is a stairwell. This is well beyond, and that's the elevator bulkhead.
Okay, good.
Is this the same building in front of the Great Diner? This looks familiar.
We're just going to go through, just for the public, we're just going to let the board ask some questions and let them applicant make their presentation before we take comments and questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
So as far as the rendering goes, it's I don't know if it's just difficult for me to see, or I cannot necessarily make out the colors that are being used. Are these the colors at scale, or these are different? To me, I see gray, brown, and blue.
Yeah,
Are
well,
these the-
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead. And that was, I don't know if those are the real colors or.
No, it's not. Look, it's not a rendering. It's a flat colored elevation. The blue is trying to represent glass. It's not going to be blue glass.
Right.
Right. The gray is more of an anodized aluminum. That would be like a light gray, and the brown would be more of a natural wood tone.
Right.
And even this component in here, which kind of looks black and dotted, would be more of a concrete tone. So it may be a little misleading at this scale on this document.
Brian, do you have a material list that
We did have one, but for some reason I don't have it in this file, there was a material list that called out these documents that I believe was sent to the village. I just don't happen to have it on this particular computer at this moment.
One question, it's very difficult to do rendering, to do facade based on the schematic that is provided. I don't know if you're planning to provide us with the rendering.
Well, samples, I think is what you're.
Yeah, we have
Well,
a
not-
digital we have a digital sample board, which I think I'm just looking for right now if I can find that. I thought it was in this file, but unfortunately it's not. I apologize about that.
But as far as it usually we would like to see a rendering to see what the building actually is going to look like, than just imagine what some of us have great imaginations, and some of us may not. I know you guys are architects and can take a look at it and say, oh, this looks perfect, and it probably does. The size and the scale we can say from here, but it's very difficult to say anything more.
No, understood. Let me just see if I can locate it.
Brian, in the past, you had some glossy photos of the elevation. Do you have them available?
Hang on one second. I believe this email just came in. Can you see this file? Wait, sorry. Here are the actual materials. Can you see this document?
Yeah, we could see
I
the
can
stuff.
see them.
After the meeting, if you could email that to me also,
Sure.
and I'll get it to the building department.
Okay.
And to the board, Brian.
Yes, and of course.
Okay, thanks.
Will do.
Could you be more specific as to what of those materials that we're talking about, which colors or which material it is?
Sure, let me open that up again. So this is the wood material that we were talking about here. These are the actual. Sorry. Just have to move that again. So here's the wood material that we were talking about before.
Brian, to interrupt you again, this is not actually wood. Is that correct?
Correct. It's the wood look. It's a Trespa material, which is a fiber reinforced, basically cementitious type product. So it will last. It will not rot. It will look how it looks over time.
Doesn't fade in the elements or.
Correct. And here's the rendering. That a bit. Can you see the rendering?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Let's try that again. You see that?
Yeah, now we see it.
There you go. So that's a better representation of the materials. Okay.
Okay. You can also now see the balcony.
Right. Ignore the uppermost portion that's been eliminated, but I brought this up quickly just to show you the materials
Also,
that accurately represents that.
the walkway to the Middle Neck Road entrance is not depicted here either.
Right. But I wanted just to quickly, as I was scrambling, bring up the materials so you could see that better.
So let me ask you, I don't know if this is going to be the final rendering. I know you said that one of the things the upper piece you're going to eliminate, or you have eliminated, as I saw. Would we be able to see the rendering of what this building is going to look like, or?
Yes. Do you see this image?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the most updated, with the materials, and that corresponds with the facade.
So now here, do I still see balconies or I don't see balconies anymore?
Balconies are in here,
So those are balconies, okay.
right?
And on the top floor, there's also a balcony?
And this is 4 stories.
Yes, this is eliminated. So we have to update this for you. This top floor is eliminated, but these are the materials, and we'll have this updated within the next day or two.
And it also doesn't show the elevation on the Middle Neck Road side, that sort of roundabout. Well, you know, for the.
You mean on good tile?
Is this Gutile that we're looking at right now?
No, this is Middle Neck.
So when it looks like there's a pedestrian roundabout where the pedestrian could go, you know, it's sort of like a parabolic entryway to.
Right, that would be right in the center component here.
So, I mean, I don't know if it's only me, but all the 3 things that you showed, they all look a little bit different. I mean, it has the same, almost the same design, but one is 3 stories, one is 4 stories, one has 3 stories with that other thing. And I would like to know, I mean, really for us to be able to give the facade, maybe we can give the architectural and the site plan, but I would like to really feel for people and the board to see what the facade looks like on Gutile and Middle Neck Road, the minimum, and maybe even to the south side, what it's going to look like. So I don't know if you can provide that to us. I mean, when you can do that, at that time, I think we can go ahead with those approvals.
We can turn that around very quickly. We can update the colored rendering with those latest materials, and we'll attach the material board, Gutile, and Middle Neck elevations. So it's all called out and coordinated for the 3-story version.
And again, and probably the south side, as you know, as I'm sure it's going to be very visible while people are driving northwise. And the north end, I mean. Hello?
Yes.
Oh, you got that? Okay.
Yeah, yes.
All right.
There are no balconies on the east side, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any member of the board has any questions regarding architectural or the site plan?
The only questions I have to repeat your concerns, that we would like to see the complete rendering, obviously, on all 4 sides.
Right. I mean, obviously the Gutile side, Middle Neck Road, and the south are very important. I'm just assuming that the east facade also is going to be important for people who are going to be on that side to see what they're looking at. I'm sure that's something important for them as well, and also people who are driving west on Gutile. It is obviously going to be a significant structure, and I think it would be beneficial for everyone to see exactly what all 4 sides look like. So I appreciate if we can have that to make our determination. As far as the 2 things out of the 3, the facade and architectural, not the facade, I'm sorry, the site plan and architectural, I just wanted to know if the member of the board has any questions or comments before we open it to public.
Usually we see actually more than just a digital sample board, but a physical one. So if that's possible to leave at the village hall, that would be helpful.
We will get physical samples as well and drop those off.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to commend the architects. I think this is it looks nice as far as the size. I would say the setbacks, the size of the setbacks on Middle Neck Road and Gutile. I do appreciate the greeneries that are provided. I do see that according to our village engineers, the dry wells are sufficient to maintain the water runoff from the building. We have sufficient parking, and I think that's as far as that goes. Steve, do you see anything that you would like to, Steve Haramis, that you would like to comment on?
They had answered all my questions. I had previous conversations today and the previous weeks with Paul Bloom and with Newman Designs. Everything that I had asked for, they had covered. I think the rendering is very, very nice.
So if the member of the board doesn't have any question or concerns, maybe we can open it to the public for them to ask some questions.
I just wanted to just also note that it's a very thoughtful, nice scale design. Really, I think it was thoughtful with the setbacks on both roads, on Gutile and Middle Neck. And I'm very pleased to see that. That the result, what I consider to be a very nice, or at least they're proposing a very nice design over there.
Did we address visitor parking? I know you said that there were 48 spots on one level, 32 on another. How many of those are visitor parking?
Okay.
We have in the courtyard there, we have enough room for temporary visitor parking, but in addition, additional parking is not provided.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I said in that courtyard, that drop off, there's excess room for a few vehicles there, probably two for a temporary situation if someone was to quickly run out and drop something off or drop someone off there and vehicles could go by. But the parking provided aligns with what's required.
Okay.
If I might, the required parking based upon the unit and the breakdown of the units is 80 parking stalls, and we are providing 80 parking stalls. So we are totally in accordance with code.
Correct.
Kind of nice to see that. Want to open up the public?
Yes, please.
Okay, if anybody, I see Daniel Wiesen, just unmute and again, state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
This is Daniel Wiesen. My address is 5 Melville Lane in Saddle Rock. I just want to speak in favor of this project. I understand we want to see the renderings, but as far as the site plan and the architectural approval, I think you have an as-of-right project. It looks nice. These are reliable developers who won't stall mid-construction. The architect's done a very good job adhering to code and also making it aesthetically pleasing and somewhere where I personally would consider living. I think it would be a huge help to the old village. And we've been hurting everywhere, especially with COVID along Middle Neck. And I think bringing 38 units and 60 to 80 residents can only help things, especially in a tasteful, thoughtful manner, which is what I think they've done here. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Cindy, you have would like to speak. Just unmute, state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, hi, this is Cindy Zubli, and I'm right next to the building on the east side. And I haven't heard anything about how I'm going to be protected footage wise. I can't read the plans online there. And what you intend, I heard 4 feet of bushes and plants. But how's that going to protect my side? I also would like to see the east side of the building to see what it would look like. We also have not addressed the traffic situation. So there are still some things out there, Mayor, that we need to discuss.
Right,
I'm-
so,
Here, we don't need a sidewalk. I will say that. I'm happy to hear that. So my property won't be shorter. But I'm really worried.
Cindy, I'm
visitor-
sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt. Just for me to know I don't want to interrupt you, but you said you don't want a sidewalk and you want to
No.
know.
Right. I'm happy to hear I don't need 5 feet of my lawn cut off for a sidewalk. So that's a plus.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to ask you, you wanted to know you are immediately east of this building,
Yes,
correct?
I'm next to the parking garage that goes down.
Okay. So I think obviously one of our concerns was the same. I think you asked about the facade on the east side, which is going to be provided to the board. Obviously, we're going to provide it to the public. As far as the setback from your property, I did not see that.
Right, I didn't see that on the plan. You're talking that you had 4 feet
I can clarify.
from the driveway. So is that 4 feet to my property line and then nothing else? So I
No.
will see the car lights, I will hear the traffic, and my bedroom is right there.
No, let me put that landscape plan up again, just to clarify for you. Yeah, I think there was a misconception, or maybe I just maybe wasn't clear enough. I apologize.
Thank you.
So on the east side, if this over here, there's 25 feet from the building to the property line. And then whether it's arborvitae or the skip laurel or arborvitae again, those are 6 to 8 feet tall the day we plant them. And they're 4 feet on center, right? So 4 feet on center is not the space between them, but the width of them could be almost 4 feet. So they could, in theory, they're going to be touching, creating a significant green hedge blocking. And then keep in mind that at this point right here, there's about a 21-foot flat. And then at that point, the vehicles go down below grade. So the lights will basically be the lower ramp plus your 6 to 8 foot, and then they'll grow higher, that green wall of vegetation. So it will all be heavily, heavily screened.
But that doesn't help the sound, right? That won't dampen the sound of cars coming all night long, in and out. And where does the delivery trucks go?
Well, okay, so keep in mind, that's only, half the amount of vehicles, right? It's not all the vehicles, because half come from this side. It does dampen some sound. I'm not going to tell you it's soundproof.
Right. It's still like by the LIE. Okay.
Okay. And then as far as vehicles, I would anticipate probably Middle Neck Road, just as if it was, if there was retail along Middle Neck Road. I believe those FedEx or Amazon trucks pull off. They can enter directly in as if this was, a retail component. And put the parcel box, as I mentioned before, is right off this main entrance, off the lobby, and then they can go back in and leave.
Right. And where does garbage haul go for all the garbage pickup?
There's a internal refuse room or internal trash room, and there's a door right here. Can you see my
Right. Yes.
There's a door right there, which the porter can bring out. And I don't know, honestly, exactly which street sanitation picks up from, but essentially it's kept in the building, and day of pickup, it's brought out via this door out onto one of the streets. I'm just not sure which one.
Right. And isn't that something we should consider as well, Mayor, where the garbage is going?
Well, the garbage itself is internally located.
Right,
It's
where
just
it's being
not
picked
picked
up,
right.
where it's being hauled.
Showing it's being picked up in the courtyard.
Okay. Yep.
And then did we even discuss the fact that there is the visitor parking. We all know that Connie Cleaners was up for sale. We don't know what's going in Connie Cleaners. We do have traffic on our street from the temple on Ellard. And you're saying that you have no visiting parking except for temporary in and out. If my grandmother lives there and I want to spend the whole day with my grandmother, where am I going to park my car on a 2-hour street? I don't
So
hear
that's-
anybody.
Right. So I think those are great concerns. Now, one of the things I know we can discuss, how many total parkings do we have for these
80.
38 units?
80 parking stalls.
Okay. So I know from the other building that most apartment buildings do not use all their parking spots. So 38, you have 80 parking stalls.
80.
Right, so that means you have more than 2 per apartment. And you said you have some one bedroom, how many one bedroom? 13 one bedrooms, I heard. Am I correct?
Correct, that's correct.
So you have 13 one bedrooms and you have, I think,
21, too.
and how many 2 bedrooms?
21.
21. So do you really believe that these parking spots are going to be used by the residents? And based on what has happened in the peninsula, especially on this side of peninsula, we have other apartments that have nowhere close to that many number of cars being parked. Is it possible to dedicate a portion of this to the visitor parking? And I do agree with Mrs. Zubli, because it is going to possibly create some overcrowding of cars, especially if someone's trying. Again, I don't think people can have large parties in these apartments, but if they have, few people coming in, I think those it would definitely benefit the community in that area, especially Gutile, if we have, maybe 10 or 15, 20 stalls. I don't know how many you can possibly think to be dedicated for visitor parking.
The code has been drafted such that it is in anticipation of what is required, which includes not only residents, but also includes visitors. Frankly, number of the buildings that have been recently approved, not only within this village, but in other villages, variances were granted for less parking than the code required. And that is a recognition of the fact that though I'm not about to give up my car, and I don't think my wife is about to give up her car, that's not the future.
Excuse me, Paul, if I may.
I represent more of the past than the future. And so the actual parking required by the code far exceeds the practical need for parking in this building. That being said, we have conformed 100% to a code that has been in effect for many, many years. And the question of visitor parking is incorporated in the concept of how many parking stalls you need for a building such as this. I do not believe that there is going to be assigned spots. And so, yes, it's conceivable that those people who are coming to visit, but if I might ask, there are houses up and down Gutile, and the question is, how many of those houses are providing spots for their visitors? And so,
Sorry, isn't there a municipal parking lot right next to the site?
it is a municipal lot. I know it's mostly utilized for purposes of the DPW, but yes, the way the police booth is, there is a municipal lot right next door. And
Every
do
time
not
I
believe
drive down
that-
that, every
One
time I
second,
drive down
excuse-
that
one
road.
second, one
sorry,
second.
who
Only-
is this
we
speaking?
we have somebody speaking. So one person at a time, please. You'll get your turn.
I do believe that there is some restrictions with respect to all of the parking stalls, but the fact is that there is a municipal lot immediately next door.
But can I just say one thing? You cannot park a car on either side of our street to get a car through our street.
I would then ask you, what do your visitors do?
Well, my visitors park in my parking, in my driveway, because I have a double driveway. And then they park in front of my house. But when parties are going on, they block my driveway. I have to go out, find out whose car it is, go knock on the doors and ask them to move so I can get my car out of the driveway.
Well,
Remember que not 4 نفری, we have 2 families living here.
isn't it
So-
that we are providing 80 parking stalls for our 38 units?
Well, everyone has 2 cars now. So think about that. Also, there was one other thing when we had the snow, the heavy snow, we had 1 lane on Gut Heil to go in and out for the snow removal. So you have to take the weather and the conditions into, effect as well, that's what's going on our street.
I'm not going to debate the issue with you, and I think you can count on
Right.
the number of
Well, maybe we have to change the code.
5 years.
Maybe it's time.
And if you have an issue with respect to snow plowing, you're talking to the wrong person.
No, the village did a great job. They cleared a lane on our street, 1 lane, so we can get in and out. They didn't clear the whole street, but they cleared enough so we can get in and out and get to work. So what's going to happen when the apartment building goes there?
They could use that same 1 lane and they're going to get in and out to go to work.
And the traffic, we never talked about the traffic light, Mayor Brawl.
Before we get there, I'm just,
Mayor, make a comment.
yes, I was going to ask you to make a comment on that.
First, I'd like to correct that we always plow curb to curb. Whether the street is narrow, whether the street is wide, the DPW always plows curb to curb. If there's cars on there, then it's a different story, but it's always curb to curb. Second comment that I would like to make is not only is there a parking lot next to this site that's a public parking, but across the street as well, lot number 5 is also public parking. And I'm not for nor against this project. I have no bearing on it either way. I'm just simply stating the facts that there is parking across the street. There is parking on Middle Neck Road. And we always plow.
Okay, Ms. Dubly, you asked the question regarding the traffic light?
Right. The traffic light, we timed it and it is about 2 minutes that you're waiting for the light to change to go and make a left.
Right.
So I think you were going to look into that to find out how that would work when the traffic comes out.
Right, so I'm going to ask Brian to reach out to the county because the lights on Middle Neck Road, the traffic lights, I should say, belong to the county. I know that with what's going on now with the major construction for the water main, things are going to be really slow. And I know that these lights that they put in, I believe last year, the time is flying so fast, I don't know if it was last year, but I do believe it was last year that they put these new traffic lights. They are supposed to be smart traffic lights, and all of them have some kind of a camera on top that is measuring the traffic and the flow, and it's going to come up with some kind of a program to make sure that the timing of these lights is done in such a way that it's going to decrease the delay of the cars from making left or right on these intersections. So I think it's going to be a while, but that's what I was told by the county. But Brian, if you can reach out, because 2 minutes to wait to turn, even when there are not so many houses on that road, is really not acceptable. In 2 minutes, we don't think 2 minutes is long, but really when you're sitting behind the red light, 2 minutes is too long.
Yeah, I'll reach out tomorrow.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Zubli. Anyone else would like to make a comment?
Yes, I'd like to speak. My name is Matthew Neiman.
Matthew, one second before you say something, I wanted to ask, as far as the sound goes, I know that you're putting these the arborvitaes on the east side. Would it make a difference in sound? And I think I'm going to ask maybe Steve Haramis to comment on it. If we have some sort of a barrier that is hidden behind the bushes.
Yes, you can do that. There are sound deadening materials, whether it's a fence or a material like they use. You see it on the LIE a lot, where you see these big barriers that are built that just to buff sound. A fence
Steve, I'm not asking for big barriers. That's definitely not going to
no.
be.
I'm using that as an example, but they do make something that does for sound as well. That's not so big.
Okay, and it can be hidden between the bushes.
Yes.
Okay, Brian, if you can take that into consideration, I really appreciate that as well.
Understood. I'm making a note right now.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I think Mr. Neiman was making a comment and I cut him off.
Yes, hi, my name is Matthew Neiman. My wife and I reside currently in Manhattan, but have recently purchased a home in Great Neck. And we are in full support of this development. One, I think that the designs that they shared are beautiful, but more importantly, I think in order to get youth and attract more youth, especially in a moment during COVID, there's been a tremendous shift from city living to youth looking to move to suburbs. Now, speaking firsthand, I have a lot of friends who grew up in Great Neck as well, and you guys are frankly losing people to neighboring areas like Roslyn, Port Washington, and Westbury. Now, why is that? They have newer developments. Yes, there are some newer developments like the Maestro, as well as I believe the Avalon and Great Neck. Nice buildings, but don't see those as centrally and as favorably located as 777 Middle Neck Road. Also, I don't see anything other than benefit in revitalizing the town, recruiting some youth, putting some business and some boosting the economy with local businesses, and just again, revitalizing the town. I grew up in Great Neck. I had nothing but good memories, but after I graduated Syracuse in 2009, I spent 1 year living in Great Neck, and frankly, it was not nearly the same. It's become old. You're looking at basically Middle Neck Road with a revolving door for businesses. And it's sad, it's disappointing, and we like to see a change here. My wife and I want to spend God knows how many years here, and would like to see the town be able to attract youth and be able to support local businesses. And I think this development and any future development only helps and benefits the community.
If I might just add on top of that, this is Ethan Rosenbaum. I have a very, very poetically said by Mr. Neiman.
Ethan, your address, please, for the record.
121 Station Road, Great Neck, New York, 11023.
Thank you.
But it's fitting because I'm actually on my way back from Chicago right now, helping my girlfriend move into her new apartment because she's part of the city diaspora of people in their late 20s leaving Manhattan and finding communities to go to that are young and thriving. There are if you go to Reddit pages, you go to virtual communities I'm in. There are hundreds, if not thousands of people in their late 20s who would have lived in Manhattan and finding other places to live. I think Mr. Neiman put it gently. Great Neck is frankly on the bottom of the list. They're not just competing with Roslyn and other local developments. They're competing with suburbs across the country. I was excited to see this development months ago. I was surprised, frankly, to see, I tuned in for the last one and to see the level of dissent and also support, how polarizing it was. I think there's a need for it. I think there are swaths of people and the millennial generation who want to come back, but don't see opportunity and see complaints that are largely individualistic, ignoring the broader trend of retail closing down, stores having no replacement, and it being a generally anti-development community that does not fit the mindset going forward if we want to be a successful town. So, I'm speaking on behalf of one person. I know that there are others who joined tonight who share this view, and I'd be happy to provide.
Let me just jump into what Mr. Ethan over here said. So,
let me just state your name. We're going to go one at a time, please.
All right,
okay?
sorry.
Name and address for the record.
All right.
Also, guys, I'm sorry to interrupt. I would like to ask the speakers to only speak if they have something new to add. If the speaker has said one thing that you agree with, you can simply say, I agree, and move on, instead of having the same thing repeated many times, because we would like to give time, especially to people who live in Guthile, to really tell us their concerns and see how we can address those concerns. Again, the ones that immediately live close to this building are being affected by it. I understand that other villages, other towns would like to see change, because Middle Neck Road is the corridor to all villages. Our village is the downtown to Kings Point, Saddle Rock, maybe even Kensington, obviously our own village. And we would all like to see a change for better. But again, when you have such a building coming to an area, obviously those who are being affected by it the most, I would like to hear from them to see what we can do to address their concerns. I really appreciate if we make a note of that and be considerate about those issues.
Mr. Mayor, I wanted to say one quick thing. And I just wanted to say, I'm Andrew Dalal. I live on 1 Ipswich Avenue, and I understand everyone's concerns here. But you see, the problem is when you drive down Middle Neck Road or you drive down Great Neck, there's literally not a restaurant or a store that can survive. It literally looks like a ghost town. It's depressing to look at. So the question here is, how do you keep stores alive? And you say that you need to have some new buildings, new residents, and add a nice demand to the community. And I think everybody will benefit from that. Even the neighbors, even if the circulation might be a little bad, you can have that fixed. We can mend a couple things, but the thing is that they'll also experience the benefits of this community and the tax generation, the revenue and the infrastructure and everything that goes along with businesses and restaurants and retail that survive.
All right, thank you. Anyone from Brian, if you can just take the.
Can I say something?
Right. So I just would rather hear first from people who live in Guthile, and then.
7 Guthile Lane.
I know. Ken, wait. I just wanted to ask those people if we can address those issues, and then we move on to other people. Ken, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for people to attend this meeting and say all the nice thing about this building. I have to say I appreciate all the changes, particularly the massing drop from 4th story to 3. Okay, but this, and also it's a nicely designed building, but just like some other project, it's a beautiful building, but if the site planning is not right, then unfortunately people are wasting the time trying to go into the detail too early. Even I say too early, it's already 2 years, unfortunately, because people sit on the plan, never really want to change. Nothing really changed from the first beginning, the layout or the traffic, okay? The traffic is the basic #1 concern to our street. And nobody talking about from our point of view. It's a private, almost like a private, because it's a dead end, no sidewalk, dead end street. People park on the street from other event, easily cramp the street because it's narrow, only 20, not even barely 2 lanes. One side got parked, like more than 10, 12 cars, people going to make a U-turn using mine and my neighbor's driveway. And while at the same time, we have to back out our car to go out, okay? This is the current situation. Yes, we know people argue they are always public parking around. That's fact. But how come we still have this kind of situation happening all the time? Okay, this is the situation we have. I'm using another example. Mayor and the board have been dealing with the Stony Run Road right next to the temple of Middle Neck Road. A gentleman, a resident over there, tried to apply for waiver of the parking requirement because they have a similar situation, 12 families in a dead-end street. But right away, it become common sense that they're not going to get any waiver because the traffic, there's a quiet street, kids safety. So right away, it doesn't work there anymore. But in our street, suddenly all this issue as a common sense doesn't apply anymore. We have to deal with all the existing cars, existing visitors. Now we have additional 80 cars. Okay, if I remember correctly, it was like 70 cars before. Now suddenly after this month, now become 80 cars. Okay, and then mayor has agreed with us saying we want to show what we want instead of keep saying what we don't want. And since that meeting, 3 meetings ago, I present this idea of re-rotate this building mass. So this building has a south-facing courtyard with all the beautiful sunlight and with the car access of Middle Neck Road. Nothing's happening. Nobody told us what's going on. People basically just ignore that. Like we have been entertaining everyone, try to tell them what we prefer, but nothing get responded at all. Okay, and then at the same time, we have to deal with more cars. And I don't know. Okay, let me just to be more specific, I'm going to raise one more point. This parking ramp, okay, is going to provide tremendous light to my living room. Okay, I pointed this out many meetings ago. Mayor sympathetically telling me he had the same situation. He has a driveway of neighbor across the street, throwing lights into his kid's room. But that was like a private home, probably have 2 cars, 3 cars. I'm gonna have 40 cars coming up from the ramp and projecting lights into my living room, okay? So, I mean, that's only a little example. I'm reading a paragraph from a town of North Hempstead, I mean, which is not our zoning code, but it's very similar to ourselves. Basically, in their chapter 30-03, it basically just says something very simple, okay? No parking ramp can point it to a residential district or a house. That's the common sense you have because it's just destroy existing neighbor's life, okay? If this ramp going to build the same location, I'll be the only house I bet in Great Neck or probably other place going to deal with the lighting across my street. Okay, I have more points to say now, but I'm going to stop right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other residents from Guftile or in proximity that would like to talk? Okay, David, I see you've had your hand up for a while. Go ahead, David.
Yes. Hello?
Oh, go ahead. Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, it's Rosita Ibrani, 5 Gotha Lane.
Thank you.
And I'm just next door to Mr. Lee. there are two families living inside our small house. It's us and my son with his kids. We have 4 cars between ourselves. And in the morning, we always have to back up one car because one goes to work at 7, one goes to work at 8, one has to leave at night. If I don't want to think what will happen if the visitor parking will come towards Gotthard Lane. There is not enough parking also for us for 2 hours here in front of our street. Our cars are out from 6 or 7 to 9 a.m. I don't think I will find parking to back up and leave the car out for my son if the parking, your visitor parking will accommodate only 2 people. I know there is a quota that you have to meet for how many apartments accommodate visitor parking. I don't think 2 of them is enough because people go up, even their own residents, they will not want to go inside the parking and then go up and just pick up something they forgot, and they will leave their parking probably on our street. This is very inconvenient for us. We have all small kids playing outside, biking outside. The only thing that I don't want to have is a parking lot inside the smallest cul-de-sac. This is something I don't want to allow. I cannot say anything else. You want to do 10 stories, do 10 stories. But this I really don't want. And the residents have a priority towards all of the other people that probably will all think of moving in the building. So please consider the parking. The parking, I don't know if I don't think it was approved. Only for your inconvenience. It's not a reason to have everybody coming out from the street, from this tiny street. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who would like to speak on the matter, especially those on Gotthard or in proximity?
May I say one thing about the facade?
Before you move on to the facade, I'd like to address some things that Mr. Ken and Ms. Ibrani just spoke on.
Yes, thanks.
My name is Yarden Sivan. I live at 3 White Pine Lane, 11023. I actually happen to live on a road that ends in a cul-de-sac as well. And personally, I can say from my own experience growing up on a cul-de-sac, it's sort of par for the course that people are going to turn around there. You chose to live in an area that has a cul-de-sac on it, and it comes with the territory in situations like that. I constantly remember, even growing up as a kid, that there were cars coming down the street at all hours, and it happens throughout Great Neck. It's not a reason to stymie development in the area. So I don't really see personal concerns about 2 families living in a single family residence and someone being concerned about their other people parking in the street when it's kind of common in Great Neck. The development is as of right. They're building everything that they're supposed to. You guys made concerns about the height of the building. They reduced it a floor. They're reducing the massing. They're doing almost everything that you're saying, and you're stemming the development of a town that people grew up in and want to come back to. And it's reasons like this that the town is suffering. So
we choose to live in a cul-de-sac street because this is exactly we have. This building is new to us. Actually, it's done through a rezoning. This is a long history, okay? This is not when we first moved in 20 years ago. We choose this street because it's a quiet, dead-end street. Okay, things being changed because developer didn't give a shit to us, okay? Thank
Okay,
you.
I'm going to mute you, Ken. And Ken, you please refrain from that type of language or we're going to have to kick you out of the meeting. And that goes for anybody. I understand, everybody's had passionate, but please keep it respectful.
Okay, so let me just respond. Let me just respond.
Can I say something? I live on
No, one second, please. Mayor, go ahead.
So, Ken, I hear your frustration. The issue at hand is that this zone change really happened maybe about 8 years ago. I don't know exactly how long, but it was way before this administration. We are dealing with what exists today. I can't really go back to what was 9-10 years ago when the zone was different. But today's zone allows this to be built as of right. And I'm sure you know as an architect that
Sorry, what about 333 or 733? You can explain later. Thank you.
I didn't hear what you said, but what I'm trying to say is that we're trying to deal with the situation to the best of our ability and address the concerns. Now, Mrs. Zubli mentioned a few things. I've asked Brian to see how we can address those certain things to have the impact to the neighboring house to be as minimal as possible. Now, I'm not going to say that there's no impact. I mean, none of us are blind. There's an impact, but with any impact comes good and bad. As many people have mentioned, that we do desperately need to have some revitalization of Middle Neck Road. With some revitalization comes traffic. With revitalization comes, pressure maybe to some neighbors. Some people benefit, some people benefit tremendously by moving into those areas and enjoying Great Neck. Some people may not, and I understand that. That's the reason we're trying to see what we can do to maybe modify, address issues by putting soundproofing, by putting maybe thicker bushes, by doing anything to have least amount of negative impact to the neighbors. And the reason I'm asking for immediate neighbors to make comments is not because other people's opinion do not matter. The reason I'm asking for those individuals to make comments because I'm sure they're affected by this development immediately, more so than people who do not live next to it. That said, Mr. Lee, you mentioned that I asked you to give a suggestion. I took your suggestions seriously about flipping the road. I mean, flipping the building. The problem is entrance from Middle Neck Road is almost impossible by Nassau County. And unless we can do something else, that is not going to happen. So it's not that we did not consider your suggestion. I liked your suggestion. I wish we could address and make those changes. But again, it's not up to me. It's up to the county. And if the county is not going to allow it, then my hands are tied. So that's as far as that goes. So with that said, I would like to hear from other people as well.
Hi, if I may.
Oh, yeah. One second. Just Cindy, you wanted one quick comment and then.
Yeah, I wanted to make one comment on the facade. When we were talking about the building materials that were going to be used, there's more metal and glass in that building than there is the fake wood, so to speak, look. I mean, I'm excited to see what Bob comes up with that. But can we have it less glass, less metal, so it kind of fits in the neighborhood?
Yes.
I mean, I don't have a sandstone house. I don't have a glass house. I don't have a modern house. I bought my house to be traditional. So my little house next to your big facade is going to be, it's not going to fit with the rest of Gut Heil Lane, which is Cape Cod style homes. And that's what we bought into.
Understood. Your point is received, and we will incorporate some additional wood materials on there.
Yeah, it would be nice to just see if there's some other choices there. And I appreciate what you guys are doing here, to help me next door. The soundproofing would be phenomenal. That would be nice. I could sleep at night. But I feel bad for Mr. Lee and Rosita, who are going to see lights all night. So I don't know if there's a solution to that as well. but that's something to consider.
All right, thank you. David, go ahead, David.
Thank
Unmute.
you so
and
much.
speak. Thank
Yeah.
you. David, go ahead.
Yeah, David Zelenziger, 15 Beach Road. I must say, Brian, you really should permit village residents to speak first. My only question deals with safety, and that is on the Goodhile Lane side, on the north side of the street, the developer doesn't plan to put a sidewalk. Now, I've walked on Goodhile Lane. I've seen the kids playing in the afternoon on their bikes and all that. I am very concerned about safety. Now, I understand that some of the other residents might not want a sidewalk all the way down the north side of Goodhile, but perhaps this project could have a sidewalk at least for the length of this project. I'm really concerned because you're going to have the trucks coming in on the Goodhile side, and so people will be dropped off and on. And then, of course, the parking garage. So say Ms. Zubli, say the Lee family, the Ebrani, say they're walking in or someone coming in. I think at least for this portion, the developer ought to add a sidewalk.
Thank you, David. Okay, if anybody else would like to speak, please.
I live on Goodhile.
Yep. Where are you? Just go ahead, state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Sasha Brownie 5 Goodhile Lane. I'm one of the families living there with my husband and 2 kids, 2 years old and 1 year old. I unfortunately, due to COVID and financial reasons, I'm moving in with my in-laws, and I know every single one of you guys who are speaking up in favor of the apartment. I'm sure you know me too. And I know it'll be a great building for some young people, but I know a lot of you are just speaking up because you're friends with Mr. Sharian. So, you know, save all of that for the people.
Sasha, you're breaking up a bit. Sasha, we're gonna have to come back to you in a moment, Sasha. You're breaking up and we can't hear you.
Hey, Brian, this is Yarden
And I
Sivan.
just want to say, I don't know if my young kids, well, I'll just speak if you can hear me.
Okay, we'll get back to you, Sasha. I apologize. Anybody who has not spoken yet.
Hi, this is Danielle Ajadan, 10 Central Drive in 11024. So I know there have been conversations for a long time, right, about the revitalization of Great Neck, and those conversations are valid. They're going on in smaller, more private forums, as well as larger, more public ones, such as this one. And I would like to say that I think that the time is now. A lot of younger people have greater flexibility than ever before to decide that they want to move into the suburbs. I myself am a recent college graduate, and up until the last year, had always just assumed I'd be moving to Manhattan after graduation. And it kind of seems like in the last year, a lot of us have a lot more flexibility. I myself am now working from home. I can work anywhere. And again, given everything in the last year, I'm finding more comfort in my hometown of Great Neck that I've lived my entire life, rather than moving to Manhattan immediately. And there aren't enough options for young people in this town that want to see the revitalization of new shops, new stores, restaurants, and the like. Additionally, I have grandparents that have lived in Great Neck their entire lives as well. They live in the village, have always lived in the village, and their house is getting too large for them. They're looking for apartment buildings in their vicinity. They don't want to switch areas. They want to be walking distance to their temples, and this is the exact place to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Kate, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead, Kate. Just unmute.
Yes.
State your name and address for the
Thank
record,
you.
please.
Thank you, Kate Goldberg, 26 West End Avenue. So I just wanted to mention a consideration that if you keep going on with this developments, we know that this is not the only development, we'll have several. So we have to look at the bigger picture. So for now, Great Neck house values are high and stable. We all know about the business district problems, but the homestead values, so the single house values are very good and very stable. And we think that it is worth to keep it this way. So if you are keeping, if you keep adding apartment houses, even for houses like mine that is a little bit far away, it's so couple blocks away from this project, and it is a block away from another project, and so on. We have many projects, you know. So my first consideration at this point, well, okay, forget schools and so on. So what about traffic? Are you having any considerations about how adding apartments to a community, how are you going to accommodate increasing traffic? So if we cannot leave the place where we live, if we cannot drive Middle Neck Road, we cannot drive East Shore Road. So how we get out? So if you are doing this, then you also have to think how you can balance this destruction of our house values. So my question at this point is, have you thought about adding bike lanes in Great Neck so that there's many young people who are moving in would be able to use bicycles on their way to, I don't know, to train station or to, I don't know, wherever they go. So maybe we should start the discussion that every next apartment building contributes to a bike lane fund or whatever, so that we could think about walkability and bikeability of our community for this overcrowded future that we are all facing now. Thank you very much.
Can I speak in terms of the traffic and the crowding on that area?
Excuse me, 1 second. 1 second. We didn't call on you yet. Sam Yellis.
Good evening. Sam Yellis, 2 Hollies Lane.
Thank you. Go ahead, Sam.
So, yes, I'm sorry. So I just want to mention that here we are again on the precipice of approving a project that everybody is against. Everybody, not that everybody's against the project. Clearly, a lot of people have been coming on and talking about the need for apartments and moving back into Great Neck. But the fact that this is even being talked about, and Esquire Bloom mentioned that it's meeting code with the parking only because of all the variances already granted. That it's, again, variance after variance after variance. That even brings us to this point of precipice of approving something, well, you know, and you wanted to flip the building, but it just doesn't fit in terms of egress on a Middle Neck Road. And well, it kind of works except for when it snows. And it kind of works except when somebody is going to sleep over at night and there are visitor cars. So it's just one more project where everybody is going to wring their hands and say, oh, if only we had spoken up, if only we had voted no or something. It hasn't started yet. Between this and 733, 741, I know we're talking about this, but Kate's right in that they're all cumulative. They're all cumulative. And yes, there are already, 475 apartments. 475 apartments already built, under construction, or at this sort of stage of approval. So
can we limit the complaining? Can we just talk and bring up valid points?
I'm going to ask you to, I'm going to keep you on mute. I'm going to stop unmuting.
So if we could just at this point, it's just a question of mitigating the damage. Unfortunately, it's like every time we speak up, it goes from 25 to 60. We should just learn to shut our mouths. maybe then instead of 25, this would only be 15. Thank you. Have a good night.
So I think I just want to say something. I don't know if I heard it correctly. You said that there are many variances that were given to this project. From what I'm hearing, there are no variances granted to this project, and this is being built as of right. The number of the parking spots were, again, according to the code, I personally would like to see less parking spots, but that wasn't one of the things that we wanted to talk about, and many people are against it. I do believe that the resident of this building will not utilize all 80 parking spots, and there will be a good significant number that will be left empty for visitors to use. Now, I am going to again ask Brian and maybe Paul and the owners to really consider having a segment or a section of this parking lot given to the visitors, because I understand that having guests in 38 units, if 2 or 3 of them have few guests, it may be adding up to maybe 10 cars. So I know that there is a municipal parking across the street. I know there's a municipal parking right next door. But again, if that can be arranged, I think that would address one of the concerns. As far as 470 apartment buildings, apartment units, I'm not aware of 470 apartment units in our village. You're talking about the entire peninsula.
They're not correct. Of course, they're not all in the village.
Right, and that's
but Mayor, but to say that 77 going in 1 block, 1 inch south of Clover Drive gas station, and another 100 going in just north. I mean, Temple Israel is going to have what? Another 177? No, excuse me, over 210 apartments within 2 blocks.
right. So,
I mean, what happens at Millwood? What happens at Clover Drive? They're not in the village, or they straddle the village, but all the traffic and everything adds up.
But you know something, Sam. There's something called as of right. That means it's the rightful, it's the owner's right to be able to build up to that many units. It's the same thing as to say, and again, I'm not trying to defend anyone, but I just want people to understand what as of right means. As of right means that if you're, let's say you have a lot, 60 by 120, that you're allowed to build as of right 3,000 square feet or 3,200 square feet, I'm sorry. They come and say, you know what, we know you're allowed to build that, but we're not going to let you. We want you to build only 2,500. Now, how would you feel as the owner of that land? I'm not saying that I agree or disagree with the number of units. I'm not saying that it's too dense. I'm not saying that it's not dense enough. I'm not saying that we don't need more apartments. I'm not saying we need more apartments. All I'm saying is that we need to realize what as of right means. And as of right means they can build up to 39 units. They're building 38 units. And what is on our agenda tonight is, do we like the site plan? Do we agree with the architectural plan? And we don't have the facade in order to be able to decide on that. But to say the number of units are too many in the peninsula, it's not really up for discussion. You may be right. You may be that we have too many. According to some, we don't have enough. So it's a discussion to have. But on this particular project, are they building as of right? And the answer is yes. Are they seeking any variances from our board? The answer is no. Have they gone to Board of Zoning and Appeal to ask for height or setback or number of units or the number of apartments that need to be added? No. So when you say that they're asking for variances, Well, they may. People have the right, according to the state law, to go be Board of Zoning, and the Board of Zoning is an independent board and a semi-quasi board that makes those determinations based on what they are making the determinations on. I don't think that we can go and say Board of Zoning should not exist. That's the state law. You cannot have a village or a town without a Board of Zoning. So I don't understand how we can really have all these discussions to say, this is too many. Well, it's really as of right. So it's not too many. Yes, if they were asking for 50 units, I would probably say, maybe I agree with you. But they're not asking that. So what are we discussing here? If it's the safety issue, absolutely we must discuss. If it's something that the neighbors we can provide for the neighbors to actually feel better about the project and make it sound better or look better or have less light or less pollution, noise pollution or light pollution, absolutely I agree with everyone. But we also have to realize we can't say no just to say no, because 3 blocks down they built another apartment building. You can't do that as a right. You can't do that based on the law that we have to abide by. There's a process, and as people like to discuss, we are going according to the process. We're not changing the process. So I understand and I sympathize with the neighbors. I understand those people who want more apartments because apparently there's not enough, according to some. I don't live in an apartment, so I don't know. And for someone to say that bringing apartment buildings to Middle Neck Road is going to devalue our homes that are not on Middle Neck Road. There's homestead and non-homestead. These are non-homestead, and they're going to increase the tax revenue significantly, which is going to actually help our home values because the taxes are constantly going up. So again, traffic, absolutely, there's going to be some traffic. But you know what? If you're worried about traffic, then we should just not have any commercial. We all know commercial brings more traffic than residential. It's a fact. But what are we going to do? Not have commercial? Then we're going to have a dead village. So it's a very fine line to walk. And I think we all need to be very cognizant of what's going on in our village and in surrounding villages. We need to be smart about it. And we need to do something that, again, not to hurt the neighbors, to increase the value of our homes, to increase the value of our lives, and to have a better lifestyle in Great Neck. We're all here for one reason. We love Great Neck. I see that. People who are pro and people who are opposed. But, I think we should stop just saying nothing's going to work. I heard Mr. Lee loud and clear. We tried. I'm not saying everything we try works. I've learned that doesn't happen. My wish doesn't come to fruition every time. And listen, we went from 4 floors to 3 floors. We went from, I think, 40 something units to 38 units. We have decreased the size. We are getting the setbacks. We are getting a nice design. We are going to see what it looks like when the design comes and the rendering. But more than that, I think we should really be careful what we say and try not to misinform people. I love the idea of bike lane. I hate this, I think, years ago. But imagine the bike lane on Middle Neck Road. You're talking about safety. You think people are going to drive in a very safe manner when there's a bike lane? We don't have wide enough roads to have a bike lane. And if you're thinking that we should make everything into one lane and then have a bike lane, I think that it's going to significantly disturb our traffic. Again, that's my belief, and some other people believe like I do. And I'm sure there are people out there that believe that one lane is better. But regardless, I just want to say that we are hearing people. This project has been coming to us for months. This is not the first hearing we have. We're not shoving it down anybody's throat. We have tried to significantly decrease the bulk of the unit, bulk of this building, which they have. But we have to get to a point that we say, okay, fine, we need to be okay with something, because nothing is not the answer. So with that, I'm going to ask more people to speak, but please be cognizant of where we're standing. We cannot be in standstill. And that's the problem. And I tell you that we need to bring in grade A people who know how to develop. As somebody mentioned, we don't want someone to come here and do a half, in the middle of a development to stall for years. And then we're going to have to start looking at, steel beams like we did for years by Everfresh. For years, we were looking at those steel beams. Until they were forced to take it down. You don't want to do that. So we have to look at all these things and make sure that we provide for these people that come to develop, so they want to develop the proper manner, the way we want them to develop. Otherwise, we may not get what we want, and we're going to actually get something worse.
Can I speak on the traffic? I'm a resident at 226 Stock Lane in Great Neck, New York.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically I drive past that location back and forth dozens of times a week in between like my office and my home. And there's literally I don't know what people are talking about with like too much traffic, but I could go like, not that this is safe or I do this, but like I could go 50 miles an hour and swerve between both lanes and feel completely safe, because like there's literally never one car there when I'm passing that and going towards Kings Point Road. And me passing like all these vacant stores is just like, that is pretty sad. And it is something that I would like to see. Like, I would like to see more traffic here. Like, I think that the problem is that like it's like a ghost town. I don't think that there's too much traffic in that area. And I also think that around that area, I think that, the concerns about like visitors parking and like leaving their cars in Guthel Road or things like that, like I'm pretty sure that should be a pretty easy fix by basically just like promoting like this is the area where 777 people should be parking, or these are the streets that they should be using, and that this is a private road for these residents. And I don't know if there's a way to make that like illegal or not, or if it should be, but I'm pretty sure that like people are going to use common sense and use the available roads and streets for 777 and not park in like a tiny, hard to get out of street in Guthel. So I don't think that either of the concerns about there being like way too much traffic, or the 777 residences for some reason choosing to use like side roads on Guthel as their option of like mode of leaving their car or turning in and out of is like most convenient for them anyway. So I really, if the main concern that I keep hearing is about traffic, like I pass by that area all the time, and yes, having 38 apartments is going to bring more traffic, but honestly, like I think that's welcomed. I really don't see how this is like such a big problem right now. It's like there's a huge vacancy in like any amount of traffic in that area, as far as I could tell.
Thank you. If anybody who has not spoken yet would like to say something.
And again, please keep it to the things that have not been spoken. If someone said exactly what you said or very similar, we heard you, please do not repeat that again.
Brian, I would like to make a point, please.
Go ahead. Who's that?
My name is Arya Mohtadi. I'm from 18 Twin Pond Street.
Thank you.
So the couple of notes that I want to touch on, and Mayor Pedram Brawl touched on this somewhat, is that, listen, these things are give and takes. And something Ken Lee said is that sort of the realtor company does not care about him or the people that live on that street. But that is actually very untrue. Again, it's not the job of the realtor to give everybody what they want. That's impossible. It's the process of finding a solid compromise. As we've touched on, the realtor company went from 40 to 30 something rooms, 4 floors to 3 floors. They work on a nice design. These are all things that they gave into because they care about Ken Lee and the people that live on their street. But if you look at the graph behind me, again, there's other things that we also have to focus on, which is our bigger picture. And that's not just the people that live on that street, but our community as a whole. As you can see, based on sort of the graph behind me, is that Great Neck's value has been dropping, whereas elsewhere has been rising. And I think it's part of, our responsibility to also not just think about the people living on that street, but let's think about the community as a whole. What can we do to grow the values of the houses and buildings within Great Neck? And this is one way to do so. And we're doing it because that is very important, and we're doing it in a way where there was compromise along the way, which is the couple of points we touched on. Again, fewer buildings, fewer floors, fewer rooms. So what I'm getting at is, listen, we need to move forward on this because we've come up with the compromises. It's better for our community as a whole. And, we're never going to get to a place where everyone gets what they want. And if we were going to act on it, now is the time. So, the town is empty. Unfortunately, we've been going through sort of the COVID-19 pandemic, and it's the time for infrastructure. We've already have not gotten started on this in the past year, which would have been lovely. We have some time left. Let's focus our efforts on infrastructure when it's going to be sort of the least impactful to our day-to-day lives. Let's get working on this.
All right, thank you, Arya. Anyone else has something new to say?
Yes, can I finish what I was saying that I didn't get to speak?
Sasha?
Sasha.
Okay,
Can you
go
hear
ahead.
me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
I don't know. I can't go into it enough how this affects my kids on the street and the traffic and whatever. And I know that's just, I'm just a part of the community, even though it's literally me and my family's entire life right now. But I first of all, I don't understand the whole how the home value will go up. I think it'll literally go down. So that's one. Second of all, I don't know the argument, so I don't know enough, but I'm confused why Oxford is on Middle Neck Road and this couldn't be on Middle Neck Road. And then the mayor said that Nassau County makes a decision, so why don't we get to speak to Nassau County? I still don't understand. Why is it called 777 whatever Middle Neck Road, but it's on Guthrie Lane? I just don't understand. And then just lastly, to close everything out, this is obviously going to happen. Will the Guthrie Lane residents, will we be compensated for this? What's going to happen when light is shining on my son's bedroom all night and he can't sleep? What's going to happen when the sound is so loud and we can't focus? Again, I know you don't care. It's just one person, but are you going to compensate for this? It just doesn't make sense how this is happening and these families are being affected. But I know all these young kids living in the city, they want to support Mr. Shirian. It's fine, I understand, but we are people. I have a husband, I have kids, I have in-laws, and this is literally affecting. It's dangerous for my kids. I'm afraid. I'm going to be afraid for them to go out to the car because of all this traffic. And again, I don't understand how it's going to work being on Guthrie Lane. And you said that they kept saying how it can't be on Middle Neck, but why can't it be on Middle Neck? Can we have Nassau County directly speak to us and explain it a little more? Maybe I didn't, get that point. That's it.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other comments? Brian?
I don't see, I was just looking through, Mayor. I don't see anybody else. Last call for comments of anything new to say that has not been said.
Can I say one thing only?
Yes, go ahead.
I misreading the site plan. When we talk about the property line versus the curb, let's call it curb. on the north side of the property, on the Gaza Lane side. I don't remember, we don't have any space, or you call it a sidewalk between the property line to the existing curb. I'll prefer, if possible, to see the survey, because I don't remember this site plan shows exactly the same location between the curb and the property line, the same as previous drawings. Probably I'm wrong. I just want to, people can check that, because what I was told many years ago when we moved here, there's a space between the curb to our property on both sides, probably about 5 feet. But they're just only trees, but no sidewalk. But that's contradict to what I saw on the current site plan. It may not make a big deal, but it gives some kind of room, but also clearly define the setback or the side yard or front yard, whatever you call it, on the north side of the property. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think this has been discussed in detail. The board has heard. One thing I would like to ask, again, I don't know if we can vote tonight on the facade. Maybe we can vote on the architecture and the site plan. We can have that discussion, or we can just table it, but close the public comments for site plan and architecture, and keep it open for the facade until the next meeting.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
I don't know, is my sound on? I now,
Is this Paul?
yes, I've got you on two different locations. I'm on my phone because I kept on losing signal and everybody sounded as if they were in a sound tunnel. So I've got the picture on my computer and my voice on the phone. I hope the voice is better now than it was
Yes,
before.
we hear you well.
Excellent, thank you. I would ask the board to please vote with respect to the site plan, with respect to Sika, and also with respect to the architecture this evening. Let me first make one comment to clarify the issue for Mr. Lee, which is the last comment that he made. Our property line on the north goes to the curb. There is no right-of-way which is beyond the curb onto the property. There is no portion of that property on the north side that is owned by other than the applicant. And when we did the setback, and the reason the setback is the same is that, as I pointed out earlier on, there are two means of calculating how you create a setback in a front yard. One of them is with respect to the distance from the property line, which is a shorter distance, and one is a longer distance from the curb. And so we have provided a longer distance from our property line, which in this case also happens to be the curb. Whether or not Mr. Lee or the other residents on the north side of Good Tile have a right of way, which is owned by the village, I do not know, but I can tell you without question, looking at the survey and the site plan was prepared, and it is accurate. I would also just briefly at this point say I have been through the same conversation, private conversations and public hearings with respect to the issue of traffic and the question and issue of where the curb cut is to be. Unfortunately, Ms. Ebrani may not have been on any of the hearings or may have not been informed. There cannot be a curb cut. There will not be a curb cut. We will not be permitted to have a curb cut. for an entrance to this building from Middle Neck Road. That is not from Paul Bloom, that is from the county. And it was provided to the village, emails, letters, contact from the county to the village confirming that information. It is a dead issue. It is a red herring. It is not something that at this point needs to be reopened, rehashed, rediscussed. At this stage, it is a county roadway. They, the county, makes that determination of whether or not you have a curb cut there, you have an entrance, you have an exit there. There have been, and I want to thank some of the constructive comments that came from those people who are speaking, quote unquote, in opposition. In this sense, by speaking and giving us constructive questions and constructive comments of what we do with this, as you pointed out, as of right building, totally in conformance with code. And with all due respect, Sam, there are no variances here. This board has not granted variances. This board cannot grant variances. This board can grant incentives. We are not asking for incentives from this board.
You're right. I misspoke. I was really conflating the building with 733, 741. I apologize for that. But we're speaking more in terms of the entire peninsula where variances are de rigueur. But you're right, and I do apologize. There were none as of right for this.
Okay, Sam, you and I will have a private conversation with respect to development and the growth and the future of the peninsula. And we don't have to bore everybody with that conversation. I'll even buy the coffee if you buy the Danish. What I'm asking the board to do is, at this stage, let us move on. Please grant the site plan. Unless you have a problem with my lighting plan or a problem with the planting plan, or you have a problem with anything associated with my drainage, which your engineers not only have approved, but we are providing more drainage than is necessary. Let's get the site plan finished. Let's get the architectural finished. Let us do the SECA. And if we need to come back, because shame on us, we did not have what you need to make a rational and judgment with respect to the facade, let us then put that over, not pictures, but actual hard copies of materials with the actual colors. We will deliver that to the village. The board members will be able to see it and touch it. And if members of the community want to take a look at it as well, I'm sure that there will be some arrangements that could be made for them to look at it. We are not investing in this property so that we could put up a piece of sheet metal that's going to have holes, waves, and whatever in it. We want to be able to own this building and to actually make money. Yes, I said we want to make money because that's what people do. They invest and they make money. We're not going to make money, and we're not going to be able to have a successful project unless we have an attractive project. We have something with quality products in it and have a quality landlord. This is not a for sale. This is a rental facility. And so we want to attract people who are going to pay the rents and people who cannot in this market buy in Great Neck. Not only in the village of Great Neck, but the entire peninsula. The prices are absolutely sky high, and the amount of product that's available is not reachable for those people who want to stay within this community. This is an asset. This is an asset to the community. It is a growth for this community. And I have to agree with one of the other comments that was made before. And that is what's going to make the peninsula, 9 villages, and the unincorporated areas survive through this process that we are seeing. First, with respect to the internet and the e-commerce, And second, with respect to what we've lived through and are still living through with respect to the pandemic, is going to be a smaller, concentrated business area, which is then going to be able to be supported by a residential people who are going to be able to walk to that smaller commercial area. And I think you, Mr. Mayor, and I salute you for this. I know there are a couple of other mayors that I've spoken to who are of the same thought process, as I know that there is a particular mayor who doesn't agree with that concept. But the fact is, retail is not what we need. We need to revive it to the extent that we can. We're going to have to concentrate it in smaller areas and then provide the people who are actually going to utilize it. And what we're going to see are service industry businesses. You're not going to be able to walk down the street as you may have done before and gone to a shoe store or gone to a dress shop or go to a place and purchase a product. That's not happening. And that's not the future. So I'd ask you to please vote this evening with respect to those 3 items and let us put the balance of the item, the facade, over to the next meeting.
All right. I just wanted to ask a very quick advice of counsel. I'm hoping that it's not going to last more than 3 minutes. I know, Brian, it's going to be very difficult to have everybody put on waiting room, but if you can, you and Abraham can do this very quickly. I really try to make it